it's Rachel with Akira, and today she and I are going to work on loose leash walking. Now, it is important that you work on loose leash walking with both Jezebel and Akira together. However, before you can do that, you need to expose both of them to the loose leash walking techniques before you put it together. Dogs have a pack mentality and they really feed off of each other's energies, and so it helps to at least expose them to it so they're familiar with it beforehand, and also so you can provide kind of individualized attention for each dog and see what works best for them. One of the challenges with walking them together is that if one starts pulling, you will have to correct them, and a lot of times the second dog gets corrected even if they aren't pulling, so it can get kind of confusing. But I'm just going to show you the loose leash walking techniques that we use. We basically stick to two methods, and it's important to practice this with each dog individually so that they really learn how to behave well on a leash, and once it becomes kind of a habit, hopefully that will transfer over to when they're on a leash with their sister as well. So the first thing that we do is called the back method. So when the dog is pulling and we're walking, we stop, plant our feet, pat our leg or snap our fingers and say, Akira, back. And you can see she responds to it and comes up to me there. When you're walking on the leash, when you're walking the dogs on leash, first of all, for loose leash walking, you give them the whole leash. So they have all this room to go around and explore around in front of you and off to the sides. Now, what you do to properly hold the leash safely and comfortably is you put your thumb through the loop of your right hand and make a fist. That way you have a nice comfortable hold on the leash, and no matter how hard they pull, the leash can't slip out of your hand. Also, it's very comfortable that if they are pulling hard, it's still not going to hurt your hand. Now, a lot of times when a dog pulls, our first reaction is to yank back. However, dogs can be a lot stronger than us, and you don't want to teach them that way. If a dog feels restrained or restricted, a lot of times the response can be to pull more. So instead, we want to teach techniques to them that just gets them in the habit of walking nicely on a loose leash. So, like I said, the first method is the back method, where she has the whole leash. She starts pulling, my arm gets out like this, so I plant my feet, stop where I am, and I say, Akira, back, and she comes back, and once we have some nice slack in the leash, then we can continue our walk. So, we're going to walk around a bit. I might get out a earshot of the camera, but we're just going to be practicing the back method just like I showed you. So, come on, Akira. Back. Good girl. Akira, back. Back. Good girl. Back. Akira, back. Good girl. Okay. So she's doing well. She is very excited right now, and we had someone coming out with another puppy, and so she got really excited. She wants to see that dog, so she was really distracted. However, this is representative of the kind of distractions you'll see with her when you go out to the beach or anything like that. She does well, and with the back method, sometimes if I can't get her attention, I give a little pull on the leash like this just to get her attention and bring her back. There, it's basically just a wrist action. I don't have to yank her back or anything like that. So, Akira, back. Good girl. That was a perfect response right there, where she turned and looked at me and came back, and we have all this wonderful slack in the leash. So now the next method that I'm going to show you is called the reverse method. And what this is again, you're walking with her. She starts pulling your arms out like this. All you do is turn 180 degrees, give the leash a little jiggle or a little tug and say, Akira, this way, and walk in the other direction. I really like this method. I think it's very versatile and it helps get the dog's attention a little bit better because you're given a little more cue with the leash, and then also when the dog looks up, they see you're going in the other direction, and so they want to catch up with you. Also, I like it because you can usually cover more space before the dog starts pulling. So with like a 6-foot leash, if they're pulling on it in one direction and I start walking this way, she has to walk 6 feet this way and 6 feet that way before the leash is tight again. So it makes it a bit easier. So we are going to start walking around and I'll show you what the reverse method looks like. Remember, just give a little tug or a little wiggle of the leash and say, Akira, this way. So here we go. Akira, this way. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl, Akira. Good job. All right, that was great. So it could be that she's had a little bit more time to mellow out here, and so she's not feeling as frantic and wanting to explore everywhere, or she just really responds to this method really great. She did a very good job, and as you can see, most of the time we were walking around it, even though she was at the end of the leash, like she is now, I know she's off camera, she's not pulling. My arm's not out like this, and I'm not being yanked. So that's perfectly fine. She responds really well to it. We're able to walk a lot without me having to do the reverse method very frequently at all. What I also really like about this reverse method is you don't always have to use it to reverse. So if you're walking and say she smells something off to your left and she's pulling that way, instead of turning back the opposite way that you were headed, you just turn 180 degrees from her and go in the other direction. It's also really handy if she's lagging. So if she's sniffing something really great behind me and I pass her, I can just give a tug on the leash and say, Akira, this way, and keep walking the way we are going. Now, each method has its advantage. So I know if you are going somewhere with like a set destination, the reverse method can kind of get tiresome if you're having to walk back and forth. It can take you a long time to get there. So, like when you come to drop her off at daycare, the back method might work best. She'll be excited, so when she gets out of the car, every time she pulls, just call her, say Akira back, and wait till there's the slack in the leash. It's still time consuming, but at least you're not having to walk back and forth. However, when there are a lot of distractions, she seems to respond best to the reverse method. So that might be the best time to use it. Now, I really suggest practicing this with both her and Jezebel separately. You can practice it with them together. However, especially since we're just starting out, you really want to give them a lot of focus one-on-one so they learn good leash manners and it becomes habitual for them. So it's a lot easier when you do take them out together. Now, we suggest that you practice this at least 20 to 30 minutes a day with each dog. That way you can expose her to a lot of different distractions, a lot of different things, and she can get used to always walking nicely on a loose leash whenever you take her out. Now, what's really important is now that she's been exposed to these two loose leash walking techniques, You never let her get away with pulling on a leash again. I've shown her how to walk nicely on a leash, and so it's up to you guys and up to us here to keep that up. And so it does become a habit, so she doesn't feel the inkling to pull at all when we put the leash on. She knows what's expected of her, and she behaves herself, and you guys can go for a nice leisurely walk. All right, this was Rachel and Akira, and we are working on loose leash walking.